Motorist by Julie Thor Fried. Motorist. The scene is set at night, mainly on a dark road. Exterior road, night. We hear a male voiceover while we see Ford, an approximately 60-year-old, very weather-beaten man driving up in his car, a Ford Bronco, 1971. He's wearing jeans, shirt, oilskin jacket, hat, possibly a flat cap, and black gloves. On the passenger seat next to him, big black plastic sacks, blood-soaked cloths, and a bolt cutter.
We often hear that it's better to knock down an animal than to attempt an emergency stop. Most motorists get into difficulties when having to brake quickly because they're unable to execute a precise emergency stop. Animals should only be run over if there is no alternative. The horn must on no account be used, as this might frighten the animal, which will then panic and proceed to run haphazardly along the road, endangering other traffic.
Ford is driving along a country road. Something is seen lying on the road ahead, and he stops the car. We hear the male voice again.
Chapter 12, The Perfect Motorist. Many traffic accidents are caused by motorists who do not give enough warning of what they're intending to do, or by motorists who haven't been keeping an eye on the road.
We see Jeep, an approximately 30-year-old woman, driving a Jeep Grand Cherokee. She's dressed elegantly, pencil skirt, trench coat, and high heels. She's driving very fast, and when she pulls out into the oncoming lane, her lips spread into a smile. She's listening to classical music in the car.
A motorist who does not trust their own skills will drive in a hesitant manner and can be a danger to others. Overconfidence will lead to taking unnecessary chances, putting driver and others at risk.
We see Ford get out of his car and walk over to the animal lying on the road in front of him. He takes out a notebook, writes something, puts it back in his pocket. He gets into the car and drives over the animal.
A motorist must always be in good mental and physical shape, rested, level-headed, and sober.
Ford gets out of the car again and drags the roadkill into the verge. He rubs his eyes, yawns, and takes a swig from a hip flask. He gets back into the car, takes a deep breath, removes his flat cap and gloves, and drives off smoothly.
Self-assured and self-protective driving requires constant awareness of other motorists on the road. At the same time, the driver must control the vehicle in such a way that others can, at an early stage, see what he or she intends to do.
Jeep is still driving on the wrong side of the road. A pair of headlights are seen approaching. With just seconds to spare, the car swerves to avoid her. Jeep smiles again. She drives on. There are roadworks ahead. A sign tells motorists to reduce speed, but she accelerates instead. Interior, Volvo's apartment, night. Volvo, an approximately 50-year-old man, is standing in front of the mirror in his entrance hall. He takes a deep breath and looks relieved, but also a little sad. He's well turned out, suit, tie, and smart shoes. A photograph of him and his wife on their wedding day hangs on the wall behind him. He's wearing the same suit now as he is in the photograph. Volvo straightens his clothes one last time and puts a flower in his buttonhole, the same kind as in the wedding photograph. The cat is wandering around. Volvo walks out into the kitchen, puts an excessive amount of food into the cat's dish, and pats it on the head. He stands in front of the mirror for one last look, picks up his car keys, and leaves his apartment without locking the front door behind him. He walks from the apartment to his second-hand car business. He puts keys in all the car ignitions, his hand stroking the hoods of the cars as he passes by. He gets into his car, a 1988 Volvo 780, and drives off.
Joy in driving is the joy you feel when the vehicle of which you are in control moves of its own accord. Once you've experienced this joy, it rarely leaves you. Only if luck runs out and you're struck down by sudden death or destruction. No, delete that last bit. Joy in driving comes from the person behind the wheel. Give way, wave on, keep your distance, drive smoothly.
Exterior road, night. Ford is driving along in his car. He drives up over the crest of the hill and spots two figures in the middle of the road. Ford just manages to swerve around them. A man, Volvo, is lying in the road, and a woman, Jeep, is standing next to him. They're arguing. Ford drives past, but then stops the car. He hesitates, but puts on his cap and gloves, gets out of the car, and walks back up the hill. Ford approaches the couple. He stops a little way off and watches them. Volvo is still lying in the middle of the road, flat out with his arms into his sides, while he argues with Jeep.
What a lousy driver. You can't even hit a man who jumps out in front of your car?
I didn't want to run you over.
Volvo laughs out loud.
Nonsense.
I wasn't prepared for the situation.
For goodness sake, cut it out. I know your sort, dangerous motorists who think they're immortal. The explanation is found in the maturing of the frontal lobe. You should have got beyond that stage long ago.
Jeep clearly feels uncomfortable and stares at the ground. Volvo, still lying on the ground, takes a dictaphone from his jacket pocket. We realize that he is the voice of the voiceover.
Addition to previous chapter.
What are you doing? Get up, will you?
Volvo ignores Jeep and continues.
Driving is a personal and often emotional experience. It seems so easy and effortless to many motorists that most are convinced they are good drivers.
You could at least move over to the side of the road.
Jeep notices that Ford is watching them. Jeep and Volvo address Ford.
He can't just lie there.
She can just run me over. Then afterwards she can move me around as much as she likes.
Jeep and Volvo look expectantly at Ford, who hesitates before saying,
I have dedicated my night vision to animals. Night after night I seek out animals that have been driven over, left injured and bleeding on the road. I finish what others could not complete.
Ford says this as if he's reading aloud from a book. Volvo seems puzzled, but smiles.
The human is a mammal, and I am injured.
Humans are inferior to animals when it comes to night vision. When I approach an animal at night, I can be pretty sure it spotted me long before I caught sight of it.
Ford is still speaking in a mechanical fashion, as if he's reading aloud from a book.
You'll have to have another go.
It's no challenge when you're lying there completely still.
Volvo waves energetically with his arms and legs. Jeep ignores him, walks to her car, and finds an inflatable headrest.
The human being is the creature best able to understand what it sees, but it is not the creature with the best eyes.
Jeep inflates the headrest, places it under Volvo's head.
My mission is to bring an end to suffering.
Then it would be highly appropriate for you to run me over.
Ford reacts angrily to what Volvo has just said. Jeep and Volvo look at one another.
You can't just kill another human being. People have faces. Animals have heads. It's harder to close the eyes in a face than in a head. She asked me to participate proactively in bringing an end to suffering.
Who?
My wife.
What did you do?
Nothing. We waited until it came to an end by itself.
Please don't make me wait.
I've been bringing suffering to an end ever since.
Volvo and Jeep have been touched by his story. A tear trickles down Volvo's cheek. When Jeep sees this, she gives him a handkerchief and he blows his nose. It's as if Ford has now convinced himself that he will have to help Volvo. He walks slowly towards his car, stops, and gazes at Volvo.
I'll help you.
Ford is about to get into his car when Volvo takes the dictaphone from his pocket and says,
The perfect motorist will never be born. But regardless of whether you drive occasionally or very often, all your driving should be training towards getting it as close to perfection as humanly possible.
What are you doing?
Putting the finishing touches to my book about perfect driving. I'd appreciate it if you could avoid running over the dictaphone. If I put it in my right-hand pocket, perhaps you could hit me from the left.
Give it to me, then it won't get damaged.
I would prefer to keep it on me in the event of a last-minute addition.
Volvo speaks into the dictaphone.
Note 1. Speed is a significant factor in the extent of an accident and the condition of the casualties.
Ford gets into his car and drives forward a few yards. As he gets close to Volvo, he brakes and gets out.
I keep a log of the animals I help, and I'm not sure where I should list you.
What difference does it make?
Do you want your own page? Or would it be okay if I put you together with the red deer?
Dead man is a dead man, isn't he?
Well, no way would I group you with foxes and hedgehogs. That would be improper.
Ford gets back into the car, drives a few more yards before braking and winding the window down.
Couldn't you at least bump into him a little bit with your car and just slightly hurt him? That would make it more realistic. Under normal circumstances, I would never run over a fit and healthy animal.
There's no reason to drag it out. Can't you see he's freezing?
I'm not freezing. My wife insisted that I had a woolen wedding suit. Personally, I would have gone for polyester.
Do you want a blanket?
Volvo hesitates, then smiles to Jeep.
Yes, please.
Jeep fetches a blanket from her car, puts it over Volvo, sits down next to him and strokes his cheek. Ford watches them from the open window of his car. He looks down and tears well up in his eyes. He searches for something with which to wipe his eyes, but he only has the blood-soaked cloths on the passenger seat, so he uses his sleeve instead. He takes the keys out of the ignition, gets out of the car, and throws the keys far into the darkness. He then walks back towards the other two. Volvo gets out his dictaphone again, speaks into it.
Note 2. Solidarity among motorists. Obscured by the steering wheel, sheltered by the bodywork, we honk our horns at drivers in front of us. But when disaster strikes, we instinctively close ranks and cover up for one another.
Volvo carries on, speaking into his dictaphone, glancing nervously at Ford.
Note 3. Seatbelts reduce risk of an injury or death in a traffic accident by up to 50%.
Ford, having decided not to run Volvo over, is now standing next to Chief, looking down at Volvo.
A book, you say?
Yes.
Why now?
Perfect legacy.
On perfect driving?
That is an illusion.
We do our best.
Even if you abide by all the rules,
Volvo stops, then addresses Ford and Jeep in a tearful voice.
she couldn't guard against how the other motorists drove.
You can't just give up. Not even if you wish you'd done more and if you feel inadequate.
He was driving irresponsibly. And he was responsible for her losing her life.
Jeep becomes more and more moved as the conversation progresses.
You have to take responsibility for your life. Navigate it in the direction that gives most meaning and put the past behind you.
She was unlucky. She was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
But you're here right now. There will never be a better time.
Volvo is silent for a moment and then speaks into his dictaphone.
Note 4. Stopping distance is dependent on, among other factors, driver response time, vehicle speed, pressure on brake pedal, tire type, and tread pattern.
All three are momentarily inattentive while we hear a vehicle approaching. They are caught in the headlights of an oncoming car.